Welcome to the Mike Frederick Show. I'm Sean Lerner, along with head coach of the Neshaminy Redskins, Coach Mike Frederick. The Redskins coming off their first game of the season, a 42-3 loss to Gonzaga College High School. And now, Coach, it was a decent loss, but I think that there were a lot of positives that can be taken out of the game. One thing right out of the chute that I noticed watching the game was Denzel Hughes. He played an incredibly good game on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, he had a real solid effort. We had a number of kids who stepped up and competed. And we did see some good things after going back through and watching the tape. When you're in the middle of it, in the heat of the battle, a lot of times you look at the scoreboard and you think it was totally one-sided. But we had some kids that stepped up and matched up pretty well. Yeah,
Denzel especially, I know that he was able to get open a lot against a couple of Division I level cornerbacks that played for Gonzaga College High School. And is that something that you kind of look to get him involved early in the game? I noticed there were a lot of comeback routes. They were able to maybe get him open early on.
Well, there were certain things we knew they were going to give us. I mean, they ran an unusual high school look in the 3-5. It's not something you see very often. Typically, teams will run a 5-3 at you in high school, but they backed their linebackers off. They ran it extremely well. But when that happens, you're going to get a lot of cover 3 behind. That leaves a lot open. When you know the corners have to bail out there. So we liked him in the slot, getting out in the flats, versus what would be an outside linebacker type. So we knew that was an advantage for us.
In the second half of the game, you guys only gave up 7 points. The game was a lot closer in that second half. Were there some adjustments that you made at halftime to kind of get back into it a little bit?
Well, I mean, it was a combination of things. I think we played better, we tackled better. We really, if there was one disappointing thing in the first half, it was our tackling. We moved the ball on offense. We turned it over on downs on the first series inside their 30. We went for another 4th down later in the game as opposed to taking a field goal, which at that point I didn't think was going to do us a lot of good. We were still trying to win the football game. So we moved the ball okay on offense. Maybe not as consistent as we like, and we never broke a big one. Our tackling was, probably where I was most disappointed. We had 7 or 8 guys in position on their first long touchdown run. A lot of arm tackling, a lot of grabbing, and part of that is, their talent level can make you miss and can put you in a bad position. But part of it is, we had guys in position to make plays, and we just didn't make them.
One of the things that we saw on defense was Matt Magdalinskis coming up with a big interception early in the game. Is that something you expect to see a lot out of him this year?
Oh, he's a talented guy. He's a really good athlete, and I think we've got him in a position at the will linebacker where he's going to be able to do some things in coverage that should again give us an advantage. He's got the cover kill skills of a corner, yet he's playing at that outside linebacker position. So. He's a playmaker. He seems to be a guy that in scrimmages and in the first game so far has come up with big-time plays. We need more from him. He needs to keep progressing and keep making more plays, and I'd look to see him more on offense as well.
Another area where I thought you guys did pretty well in the game was on special teams, particularly on kick returns and kickoffs. It seemed like you held them, for the most part, to relatively short returns, and you guys were getting out to the 30-yard line or so on just about every return. Were you happy with the special teams performance?
Yeah, with the exception of the long punt return they had, I think we played solid on special teams. First-time punter, and he hung in there pretty well. Handled a rough snap and got the ball off. Made a touchdown-saving tackle on a breakaway run. At kickoff, those were all things that our coaches had designed during the week. We wanted to take a shot down there deep, not a full squib, but kind of line drive it down into the corners, and Dylan did a nice job, our kicker, implementing that game plan. Our kickoff returns, when you have Denzel back there, that you have to prepare for a pooch away from him, and that's what we got. And our coaches made an adjustment after the first kick and put Matt Maggs in there, and I think Denzel got a return in as well. A couple of decent punt returns, and that's a game plan on the fly. So I think they did a real nice job, coaches and players, executing those plays.
DeAndre Pollard got off to a bit of a slow start in the game, but then you guys started feeding him the ball a little more, and he picked up some good yardage. Was that a conscious decision to say, hey, we need to get DeAndre going in this one?
Well, I think when DeAndre gets going, it opens up everything else. Ultimately, when you come in and you know they're going to be in the box on every play, the hope was to be able to move the ball on the perimeter, and then, bust DeAndre up in there and sort of work in reverse, right? I mean, you loosen him up, and then you're able to pound him up there with DeAndre and hope he breaks one or two big ones through the middle once you soften him. And when that didn't work, we went back to a 2 tight end set and said, all right, well, let's see how they do if we pounded at him. And DeAndre ran hard. Our guys blocked pretty well. And again, that then opened up some of the outside stuff. So, yeah, pleased with his effort. He's a hard runner. He's a special talent, and I'd look for him to have just a terrific season.
There was one sequence where you guys gave the ball to DeAndre a couple times. He picked up some yards, and then on a play action, Mason Jones was able to hit Denzel Hughes for a nice 10 to 15-yard gain on the right side. Now, Mason had a pretty nice game, all things considered, against a team that knew he was going to be dropping back to pass a lot once the game was a little further out of reach. And I thought Mason, as a sophomore, played a really good first varsity start.
Yeah, he took good care of the football. He made good decisions. Showed some toughness. They hit him. They got after him and they hit him, and we need to protect him better as we go through the season. I got the wind knocked out of him there. I think it was in the third quarter. Hopped up, went right back in. So showed some toughness that I think guys will respect, and they'll want to follow him. As long as he keeps making good decisions and taking care of the football, we're going to be in a lot of football games, and that's what we're looking for a sophomore quarterback. I thought he did a nice job.
Now you talk about that offensive line. This group, mostly a new group together. Hunter Kelly, the only returning starter on the offensive line, and he's moving to a new position on the line this season. Were you happy with, over the course of the game, as how they progressed as a unit?
Yeah, it's one of those things where it'll take them the most time to start to work together. Because of the reps, because of the calls, because of the fits, and we've got 4 new starters in there. We got our quarterback hit, but we didn't give up many sacks. We needed to, I think, grade overall better across the offensive line. We've got a great offensive line coach. Coach Wilmot is terrific, and I've seen great strides from week 1 to week 2 out here on the practice field. So it'll come together. It was a tough opener. They ran an unusual look, and then they brought some guys and pressured the quarterback, and with communication and a lot of new guys in there, we had our hands full.
What's one thing that you look at the film from that game and you say, okay, this is something that we can take into next week and really improve on?
Well, we never gave up, and I can tell you that. Going through the film, a concern of a coach, head coach, and our assistants is, all right, well, let's see, when times got tough, who was really going to battle? Who was going to pack it in and say, hey, it's getting away from us, we may or may not be able to come back in this one. At halftime we talked about how teams all the time can come back from halftime deficits. I was in a game on the losing end where we went in at halftime up 28-0 over Clemson and lost 29-28. So we were still talking and preparing to win the football game. And our kids responded. There was some toughness. They played much more physical, I thought, in the second half. They tackled better in the second half. Those are things that you can take into the next game and you say, all right, our kids have toughness. They will not quit. And that should serve us well the rest of the season.
We'll step aside, take a quick break. Back right after this with more of the Mike Frederick Show, presented by ARIA Health.
At an orthopedic institute, world-class specialists, surgeons, and technology are a must. Personal care is too. The ARIA 3B Orthopedic Institute is redefining care in Center City, Bucks County, and South Jersey. With over a century of experience, the 3Bs, Doctors Booth, Bartolozzi, Balderston, and their partners personally guide you from treatment through recovery. For joint replacement, sports medicine, spine care, and more, call 1-888-ORTHO-3B or visit aria3bortho.org. At the ARIA 3B Orthopedic Institute, you come first.
If you are looking for a car, where do you go? Faulkner Auto Group at 4427 Street Road in Trevose is where to go for the best deals in Bucks County for all your new pre-owned cars, trucks, or SUVs. Go to Faulkner Auto Group. It's always Faulkner, to be sure. Go online to faulknerautogroup.com. Just remember, it's Faulkner, to be sure, for all your new cars or trucks. 4427 Street Road in Trevose. Faulkner, to be sure.
Welcome back to the Mike Frederick Show, presented by ARIA Health. I'm Sean Lerman, alongside with Coach Mike Frederick of the Neshaminy Redskins. And Coach, we talked a little bit about that last game. Let's look forward now to your matchup with Downingtown this weekend. This will be your first road game of the season after playing at home. Is there anything that you're getting your guys prepared for as far as a hostile environment at Downingtown?
Well, it's one of those places where you like to go play. I mean, they're going to have a big crowd. They've got a great field, great facilities, and there's whether we like it or not, there's a natural rivalry between Bucks County and other county schools. So there's sort of a built-in rivalry there about, hey, we're awfully proud of Bucks County football. They're very proud of Chester County football, and it's you see these teams in the playoffs sometimes, and it comes back down to it's a regular season game. We're going to go to their house, and as a player, there was nothing better than going into somebody else's stadium and coming out with a win.
Now, I think a lot of people around the area see this as a good test for both teams. It seems pretty evenly matched to kind of go into it. Is that something that you're telling to your guys, hey, this is going to be a close game, let's go out and get it?
Yeah, we've got them prepared for every game being a close game. It could very well come down to the last possession. That's what we have to be mentally and physically prepared for. They run a spread, wing T type misdirection offense. They do it very well. They're very technically sound. On the defensive side of the ball, they run a pretty traditional 4-3 with a lot of blitzing. This will be a good challenge. Obviously they're highly regarded across the state, and for us, it's one of those games where you have to go in, you have to improve, you have to find a way to win the football game. It doesn't matter how pretty it is, it doesn't matter what the score is. We're really looking forward to going in there and just finding a way to get a win.
When a team runs a spread offense like they do, what are some general things that a football team would have to do to combat that more spread offense?
Yeah, what it tends to do is it takes away the aggressiveness of a defense, and it makes you play more assignment football because they can attack you with multiple people at multiple attack points. As far as what we're trying to do is we don't want to take away our aggressiveness. With a team that's had 9 or 10 new starters at different positions for the first time last week, the last thing we want to do is say, hey, we've taught you to be aggressive, now pull it back. I think if we can be really aggressive on the inside, bubble some of these pullers, knock them off their routes, it should clean up some of the misdirection game and make it clear who's got the ball and which way they're going. So that being said, we have to be sound. We have to be sound on the discipline side, but yet we want to marry it with aggressiveness and really try to be disruptive. And if we can do that, get some hits on the quarterback, obviously. If we can contain the run, they've got a really nice running back. Number 2 is a great player. Quarterback who won the job last year is coming back as a senior. They're talented. I think we'll be in good shape if we could make them more one-dimensional.
Now, you said they run a base 4-3 defense. Is there anything that you guys have to do to adjust that, or is it more a matter of just we're going to run our offense and we're going to try to do what we do better than they do what they do?
Yeah, well, that's a more typical look that you're going to see. That's probably the most popular defense right now in high school and college is the 4-3, so you see it more often. That, at the end of the day, means, right, you should be able to do some of the things you've done historically with a little less learning, but they add the element of blitzing, and they blitz more than most, and they'll bring, they've got a couple of nice outside linebackers who can get pressure off the edge, and that affects things as well. So, we're not going to change who we are. We're Neshaminy, and we're going to come out there and we're going to make them try to stop us. And yet at the same time, we're confident that we've got a quarterback that's made good decisions, and if we've got to throw it on them, we'll throw it on them, and if they loosen up, we'll adjust to that and we'll try to pound the ball.
Yeah, Andre, as we talked about earlier, got off to a bit of a slow start last week against Gonzaga. This week, though, do you expect to see him get going a little more and a little earlier in the game?
Yeah, I would hope so. I think last week it was one of those things that had the game stayed closer, you would have gotten more than 13 rushes and a pass or two out of the backfield, right? You have a guy like him, you don't want 15 touches. But when you're playing at a deficit, we could go out there and hand them the ball 30 times. You really start to you need to make plays down the field to get back into a football game. So the hope is that the game remains competitive to the point where we can get him the number of touches he needs, and that's more than 15 in a football game. Whether that happens early or often is going to depend on what they do to us on defense. If they're going to, again, stack the box and put a bunch of people in there, I would foresee us going at them a little bit more with them than we did maybe in the opener. But at the same time, we'll take what they give us.
Now, how's DeAndre been doing with playing both sides of the ball? He was out there starting at corner, also played running back last week. How's that been as far as an adjustment for him going into this one?
You'll have to talk to him. I think he handled it pretty well from the coach's point of view. He played a solid game at corner. I think there was only one or two times where it seemed as though he was either out of position or that they isolated on him, may have had an ability to go at him. So I don't know if they purposefully stayed away from him, but they certainly kicked away from him in special teams. Every time he came out and split out, they identified where 21 was on the football field. So he was a key component to them stopping our offense. Just identifying where he is at all times, and that's an advantage. So overall, I think for his first start on defense, he did a nice job, and he didn't seem tired or gassed. So I think he'll be able to handle the load this year.
How's practice been going this week with the whole group?
Yeah, it was a good week. Hopefully we finish up strong today, but Tuesday and Wednesday were probably the most spirited practices we've had, and I think we had a good week of practice last week. This week's been at a different level of intensity, and hopefully it's good intensity and not bad or wasted energy here. And sometimes as a coach, you're not sure which it is until you get out there and you see how crisp we look on game day. But I'm pleased. I'm very pleased with Tuesday and Wednesday's practice. Again, going through the tape this morning, we saw some guys elevate from weeks 1 to where they practiced this week, where it looks like kind of the light's gone on, and they're getting closer to where we need them to be.
All right, Coach. Well, we talked enough high school football here. Let's get into some of the fun stuff. You mentioned to me before we went on the air that you're a big college football fan. No surprise, you played the game. So, are there any games that you're looking forward to this weekend?
Well, I'm a UVA grad, so I was looking at Virginia. I thought they could have won one last week against UCLA. I think they outplayed them from start to finish, with the exception of the 3 defensive scores. I forget the final, 28-20 to the 7th-ranked team in the nation, and to give up 3 defensive touchdowns, that's tough. It's hard to win those games, and they really played well. I'm proud of them. I'm looking forward to a great season there. I got a chance to watch the Georgia-Clemson game on replay. That was a lot of fun. And you look at that, you got these 2 great teams that take each other on in week 1, and you look and you say, okay, well, where are they going to be down the road? And I like the fact that they're willing to schedule that game and go ahead and take each other on and see where they are, and know that that'll prepare them for the rest of the season. So we've tried to relay that message to our guys, which is, hey, let's not withhold judgment about whether or not seeing one of the top teams nationally in the opener was a good thing or a bad thing. Let's wait and see how it plays out. It very well may have been a great thing for us.
What do you expect to see out of your Cavaliers this year?
We're just hoping for improvement. They won 2 games last year. I know they have Richmond this week. Obviously they've the 1AAs can always upset a Division I team, or I don't know what they call them nowadays, FBF and CS and all that fun stuff. Well, I just want to see them get better. I would love to see them, make a run, win 6-7 games, maybe get into a bowl game. Realistic expectations, but at the same time, it's a great place, a great institution, and has a history of great football, and we need to get back to that.
This is the first year college football is going to be instituting its new playoff system with the 4 teams. What do you think of that change from the traditional setup that it's been?
I love it. One of my favorite things is what they do on the second tier level, where they do the playoff system. I think we've seen that in Pennsylvania high school football.
Right.
When the playoff system gets instituted, you can complain or moan all you want about how you schedule and who you play and all that other stuff. With the playoff system in place, you'll find out. If you don't win your games, you're not there. And once you get there, it's anybody's time to get hot and run the table and prove you're the best team in the state, or in college football, best team in the nation. So I love it. Hopefully it'll expand even a little bit more. The concern is that, are you taking a little bit away from these guys and their ability to handle what goes on in the classroom? But most of this stuff's done on break. You have the traditional bowl system, which is a really nice thing and a way to reward 20, 25, 30 teams for having good seasons. So I like that. But if there's a way you could do that in tandem with, even opening it up more, then we find out who the best team is, and the kids all love it.
All right, well, thanks, Coach. Good luck this weekend against Downingtown.
Thank you, sir. Have a good one.
That'll do it for the Mike Frederick Show, presented by 1490 WBCB and brought to you by Aria Health.